as possible. I personally, I like to see the venturing independent dungeons and stuff of that nature, to see if they can find stuff in there. And we are off, by the way, 2 different directions. Unfortunately, just a key at the sanctuary, but at Link's house, Kenny did actually manage to get some bombs. That'll definitely help with some of the early Kakariko item excavation.
Looked like we did get an early map there too from Kenny as well. Looked like we had green pendant, blue pendant, and I believe Hera was crystal 5, which was really nice.
So yes, we have more than one pendant light world. So some of the quickest dungeons may not be necessarily required, but there could always be some items in there, and they are pretty quick checks. So I will probably still see them venturing into those. Also, the bush crab does have bombs as its drop item. That is very, very helpful. That'll allow them to probably not even have to worry about purchasing bombs in this particular seed.
Yeah, extremely helpful in open mode. Anytime you can get any kind of open or lots of bombs early on is extremely useful to you. Especially since you may go for a while without a weapon, doing Moldorm Cave, very useful tool.
Yeah, that is the one thing I kind of appreciate about open mode, is that it'll allow you to use items more creatively to battle enemies and other obstacles in your path. You have your bombs, obviously, but there's a lot of other useful tools you can use. If you get the bow early, you can use that. Canis Amaria, the magic rods, just so many different items you can use at your disposal.
We're also getting red rupees from the tree pole too, so they're getting very favorable RNG right now.
Yes, definitely. So in addition to getting all those bombs from the bush crab, bottle vendor pretty much taken care of at this point, and definitely starting that saving up for the Zora as well.
So other than that, not a whole lot that we're seeing right now. Just a couple of heart pieces, heart containers, bombs of the such. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they get in Kakariko right now.
Yes, first up we have the Kakariko greenhouse, 5 items, and one of the items being bomb lock, but that will not be a problem for our runners. Let us see what we have in here. Okay, we have our first sword upgrade. Got the fighter sword in the Kakariko greenhouse.
Yeah, very nice to get an early sword. It's going to make this seed that much easier for him now.
Yes, being able to take out the mini Moldorms in Moldorm Cave without using your bombs is very, very helpful. And again, just making the castle escape sequence more viable as an item check as well.
Right. It also opens up the ability to go into dungeons now a lot sooner than you normally would, because most players probably wouldn't go into dungeons without a sword, just in case they would have to go to a boss and try to eliminate it.
Right, exactly. Unfortunately, only money and heart pieces inside the Kakariko well.
That probably means they'll get more items and progression towards that Moldorm Cave, but right now, early game, and we get a glove already. That's nice from the bottle vendor. Getting early rupees and hearts is actually very beneficial to you because, like you mentioned earlier, it saves up for Zora. It's only going to make your run that much easier having those early hearts.
Yeah, that is true. It's definitely it gets difficult if you get kind of starved for hearts early on, and you only have to do some of the early Dark World dungeons with just 3 or 4 hearts. So yeah, getting hearts is always really nice.
All right, so we're going to take a look in Tavern right now. And just 20 bucks. Better luck next time.
This does make the potential Houlihan room look very appetizing right now, just because you have a little more than 100, almost 200 heading out of Kakariko. There's a few spots you can get to before Zora, and you get about like over 200 from the Houlihan room by itself. So it definitely looks like a viable strategy, at least at this point, anyway.
It's actually very, very appetizing, like you're saying. They do have the power glove, so that's actually going to make that a lot easier and faster to do than a traditional gloveless and flipperless Houlihan room. And like you said, they're going to get about 225 rupees from that, so they only need about $50 more, and they'll be set for Zora.
Yeah, exactly. And getting the gloves, I always like to mention this, but speaking of the gloves, we have the upgraded variant right here, so kind of makes what I was saying a little bit moot, but all Bobtastic needs to do right now is get a Moon Pearl, and he technically has Dark World access, so that's a very good find on that Kakariko race game.
An excellent find. Anytime you can get any kind of early sign that Aga one's not required, it puts a lot of focus on just finding that Moon Pearl and getting your Dark World access. Now you don't have to worry about routing out Light World just endlessly trying to find that progression or lead that Aga one is required.
Yeah, exactly. And with the Titans Met, that means that the hammer, even though it would be still good to have just because it does block a lot of items, it means that item will not be required for the Dark Room access, so it's also one less item they have to worry about. Now, if they do find the cape, chances are Aghanim is still potentially in the cards, because, like we said earlier, that Moon Pearl is still missing at this point, so we'll have to see how that progresses in the next couple of minutes or so.
Yep, it could be on the pyramid. And we actually do see DoctorBobtastic making a really smooth play here. He's going to go into Hyrule Castle with that sword in tow, save the Uncle check, and he's just going to save a little bit of time on travel now heading in there for the extra escape checks.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of runners tend to check those two items before heading to Sanctuary. Thankfully, because Bobtastic did not do that, he could very easily route that in when he was going to escape. Again, when you do open mode, it's quite literally open mode. It's open-ended in how you kind of approach the start of the seed, so it's kind of cool seeing that kind of come to his advantage right there. And there is the Moon Pearl in the escape sewer chests.
Wow, so Kenny has some options now.
Yeah, he has a lot of options. He can continue to kind of work with what he has in the Light World, or he can go ahead and go to Kakariko Village and immediately go to the Dark World. I can kind of understand checking some of these locations first, though, just because obviously it's still very early game. There could be some other items around, and still working with Green Mail, and those Dark World enemies do kind of pack quite the punch, so I can understand the play of sticking around for a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like he's electing to go into escape as well, and once again, a great play considering you have that early sword, just to see what else we can get from here.
Having a little trouble with the blue guard right here, or you could just be taking damage for a Death Warp too, I suppose. Yes, as Arius13 mentioned, this is the final match of Group U, so after this, Group U will be set for all the matches they have to do, and I don't think a tiebreaker will be necessary either, because the first two people are the people who are, the top two have already been decided from the group.
Alright, so we just get the map from Zelda's cell, so that means that Sewer Chest will have an item.
Yes, that's right.
And we know that just because they do still have a key in their inventory. It is a dark room for her, however, so they might elect to leave that for later, or generally just skip it at all.
Yeah, this is a very tricky dark room, just in the sense that in the very first room, at least from this side anyway, you have to find a rat that has a key, and you will not be able to see where the rat is at all. You can only use your senses to find it, your ears, so it's can be kind of difficult to locate. And yeah, Kenny took a death right there. I don't think he got the item, though, because he died to the ball and chain guard.
I think he's making the right play, though. He's going to sacrifice that chest and go right for. He's going to go right for the dark room. I like this play.
That's true. Yeah, and as we saw, it is just the map. The map is not necessary at all. So this could be a very, very good. It is a very good play because yeah, you won't be going back there now.
Yeah, and he does have 5 hearts, so it is a very challenging dark room, and the big challenge here is the snakes, but it looks like he's getting through it pretty good right now. And it looks like DoctorBobtastic's doing the same thing, just going the reverse way.
Yeah, it looks like he located that key, no problem, and he just needs to make it through this next room and then locate the chest, and then he is good.
So the big problem with this dark room is really finding the chest. It is a little bit of a pain to locate. I personally like having the hook shot just so it can grab me there quicker. If I have to do sword, basically you just want to line up against the right wall there and kind of figure it out with your sword out.
Yeah, you have to keep in mind the chest is kind of in the middle of that section, so if you keep moving up and down, oh, we found the boots.
He got the boots. Wow, that's huge. They're both going to find it too if DoctorBobtastic is able to open up this chest.
And he does, and he also gets the boots. So yeah, very nice navigation through those dark rooms, and they got done with them at pretty much the same time too. So they are even once again.
That is probably my favorite sequence break right now, is finding those dash sandals, man. Like it's so nice to have early on. You're going to see the most benefit, and it does open up some sequences to you, such as King's Tomb, like we're seeing Kenny do, and the Bonk Rocks. Also could open up Desert too once we get the fire source and an entry point in there.
Yeah, Desert is pendant, but that doesn't mean that there's nothing in there. There could definitely be something in there, and you kind of even need the boots in some cases just to even progress through that dungeon. So yes, it's very good that they picked that up. And I believe we have our... Yeah, this is the first dam check, so after this, we'll finally see a mini Moldorm Cave, which has been unchecked so far.
Yeah, very lucrative check. 5 items in there. With the sword though, they're going to have no problem getting through there.
Definitely not, and with the boots, it makes the potential for checking Ice Cave a lot more valuable, just because you can get there a lot faster. So yes, getting those boots right then and there, definitely a very good thing for both of our runners.
Yeah, that Ice Rod Cave is typically the first gamble you'll see in a race, actually, is if people are actually going to skip it or elect to walk over there. Like you said, having boots, it's that much more accessible. It's a long hike up there, so if you don't have boots or fluke to get up there a little bit quicker, a lot of racers kind of hesitate checking it.
Yeah, definitely. So in the mini Moldorm Cave, we have some bombs, we have a piece of heart, the mirror. Okay, that's a good item. 2 heart containers, so I think it definitely paid off just for that mirror. It's going to be very helpful in getting to Tower of Hera, and also making a lot of Dark World, Light World checks that are in mirror locked locations.
Yeah, that mirror is going to really help out with South Route in Dark World, and North Route, actually, if they chose to do that.
Yep, Bobtastic making the play on Ice Cave, especially... Oh, he needs to be a little careful right here, though, because he has very low health, and those crabs do 2 hearts of damage with Green Mail. But I think he'll be just okay with that, and gonna see what's in here now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he saves and quits from here.
And looks like he is.
So his other play from there would have been to go back down south and do a fake flipper to Hobo and even potentially Zora, just to see what the waterfall chest was. Just because we did have the Moon Curl, they would be able to perform that okay.
Yeah, I think he was definitely discouraged from doing that, probably due to his heart count, and then also because he doesn't have 500 rupees yet. It may be a better play to come back later when he has the rupees and do that, but for right now, I can kind of understand not making that play.
Yeah, same here. I mean, if you had the rupees, it's almost like a must, but you can skip it for now if you don't have those rupees yet.
Yeah, exactly. We are getting another lucrative check right here, though. We have Sashrala's Hut, we have the Quake Medallion, a Piece of Heart, and some more bombs. Quake Medallion could potentially open up a Dark World dungeon that we'll need later, but we won't know that until we actually get the checks for those.
Right, with 2 Light World pendants too, I would love to find as many medallions as I can early on just to kind of open up my routing a little bit more. So we don't know if Quake's useful yet. It has some good applications like an Ice Palace against the Pengators, just for a little bit of speed if they have to go in there early. But yeah, it's definitely good to have those medallions early. You don't want to be looking for those at the end of the race.
And Kenny is making the play on checking the fake flipper locations while Bobtastic is entering Eastern Palace to do his first dungeon diving.
Yeah, definitely not a bad play here. V26 has been all about dungeon dives, so even though it is green pendant, they could make out with some good swag, such as the bow. Could be more progression, red cane, fire rod, that sort of thing. That could really help them along.
Yeah, and Eastern's, because you can access Eastern from pretty much the get-go, it pretty much allows anything to be inside of it. The only things that obviously can't be in here are is the lantern past the dark rooms, and then of course the bow on the Armos Knights. So literally anything can be in here.
All right, so it looks like Kenny is continuing on and is going to check the waterfall cave, looks like.
And then probably after that, we'll get a potential Zora ledge check. Won't be able to get that item, unfortunately, but it's good intel to have. You always want to make sure you know where items are, especially if it's something you'll need later on down the line.
Right, so the reason why I said earlier he could check the waterfall cave is because he does have the moon pearl. So there's a bit of a glitch in the game where if you fake flipper to that waterfall cave and you have the moon pearl, the game actually gets confused and thinks you have, I can't remember if it's flippers or if it puts you in a walking state over the water, so you're able to actually check those chests.
Yeah, I believe it thinks you have the flippers, I believe. But unfortunately, I guess not unfortunately, since you won't have to come back for that specifically, but the Zora Ledge item was only a bomb capacity upgrade, so he doesn't have to worry about that anyway, so he's probably going to make the play on Dark World now.
Yeah, why not? You have your Titans, you have Boots, Moon Pearl, great play at this point.
Meanwhile, Bobtastic makes it through the first Eastern Dark Room. Not too hard to navigate. Just kind of have to navigate to the right side of that first room, go in that next room, get a small key, and then make your way around back to this. And there's not a lot of enemies that can really get in your way too much. And the ones that could, you can see clearly in the anti-fairies.
Okay, so it looked like Skull is the other pendant. I didn't quite catch what the other Fat Fairy check was.
Yeah, I did not quite see that as well. But he is opting to check Skullwoods very quickly. Honestly, not a bad call. It's right there by that portal, and there's 2 items you can find in Skullwoods, and Skullwoods is also kind of set up in a way where you can kind of just navigate the beginning parts of it. Even if you don't have the fire rod, there's a good chance you'll probably find both items anyway, so it's a very quick check before going down to the Village of Outcasts.
Yeah, I believe the number is like 31%. You're going to find an item of use in Skullwoods. Even though it is a pendant, it's a very good check at this point. Also to note, he doesn't have the hammer yet, so it is actually I wouldn't say a better check than Thieves right now, but it is a smart play just in case you do get that hammer here.
Yeah, that is very true. They will be unable to check that last location in Thieves Town.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's the Logic's way of trolling you, but anytime I seem to not have the hammer going into Thieves, Big Chest always has an item.
Yeah, that's definitely happened to me as well. Bobtastic actually setting up the Houlihan room, like we kind of talked about earlier, the flipperless version of the Houlihan, and yeah, he's going to get a lot of rupees for this, and we'll probably see a Zora check after this now.
Ooh, Kenny having a little bit of issue with that Gibdo room and did unfortunately take a death. It's not punishing for time, so to say. He just has to clear the blue jellies again.
Yeah, those Gibdos, they can do 2 hearts of damage with green mail. Like I said earlier, yeah, even though they do have quite a bit of hearts, that green mail is still a bit of a disadvantage at this point, and they don't really exactly have a better weapon to take on the Gibdos at this current time.
Yep, but he does manage to get through it on a second try, so well done there. A good tip for that room right there, considering he does have the blue boomerang, is you could actually stun them if he's having a little bit of trouble there.
That is true, yes. You can use the boomerang. It won't get rid of them, but it will definitely freeze them in place, so you can kind of move that block around without worrying about them.
Alright, so we got I believe, a B in the bottle there. So that's going to be nice for Sick Kick coming up, especially with a mirror. He'll be able to route that in with Village of Outcasts. Alright, so Kenny's going to take his tour right now of the Village of Outcast. We're still looking for a lot of progression. What do you think they're going to find in here, Slim?
Well, like you mentioned earlier, having the hammer would be really, really nice right about now, like you said, for the last chest in Thieves Town. As far as other items, obviously it'd be nice to find the bow, be nice to find the lantern, because having access to dark rooms, even though I'm sure that most players know how to do certain dark rooms, especially the ones this kind of early on, still, with the way the logic works in Randomizer, it's always nice to have the lamp, just so you know you're not breaking sequence in the actual logic of it. So, yeah, I'd probably say, yeah, probably either lamp, bow, or hammer.
Hammer would be nice. It would open up the most checks for them right now in the Dark World. Me, myself, I'd love to see them get the flute at this point, just because it would give them access to Desert, and then we can see if Desert is boots locked, and if they can do some more sequence breaking here.
Oh yeah, that is correct. Having the boots is a bit of a sequence break right now in terms of the logic, so yeah, that would be really interesting to see that play. Speaking of, well, I guess this is not really a break in logic since you can get here without the flippers. This is just a shorter way of doing that. We are going to see the Zora item right now, so
yeah, this is a big check.
Rupees, so, and it's just a life lesson.
Just $20. Unfortunate.
Grinded up all those rupees and then just get 20 of them back. That's not a good feeling.
And the Stump Kid's even worse. He's only giving out 5 rupees, so... But his was free, though, so I guess he's giving you money than taking it.
Yeah, exactly. And in addition to the flute play you were talking about earlier, not only would it open up like the Mire area and get in the desert, but as far as the logic's concerned right now, that would also access Death Mountain too. Not a whole lot of checks they can do, but that would get them up to the top of Spectacle Rock and Tower of Hera, which is a crystal, so that could also be where some progression is as well.
You're absolutely right. And DoctorBobtastic's actually saying, I don't need your flute. He's just going to go through the dark room there and without the lamp.
I believe we just found the hammer in the Hype Cave right now.
Yes,
so
we did.
There is that progression that we were talking about.
So patience paying off for Kenny there, not going into Thieves just yet. Getting that hammer in Hype Cave is going to really allow him to route a little more cleanly. It actually looks like he's going to keep going with this route. I like this play. Going to check out Pyramid. Maybe he dips into Pod from here. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, going into Pod at this point is a little risky. Well, maybe not risky, but because they don't have the bow, there is a really good chance that they could get bow locked, and just due to the key placement of the Palace of Darkness, sometimes you won't necessarily find items, and if you're kind of doing things out of sequence, you can just kind of get lost on that trail of the breadcrumbs. But sometimes, if there is just that one item at the very beginning, sometimes you'll just be able to pick up an item like the hookshot or something right at the very beginning and step right out, and there's some more progression right there.
Yeah, I totally agree. It is a risky play at this juncture because you do have the chance of even being bow locked right on the start of pods. So you kind of dedicate all that travel time. It's about a minute and a half going through getting key, spending the rupees, and then you go to that first chest and it's like big key or a piece of heart, and you're like, oh, I can't do this now.
Yeah, but it looks like Kenny did kind of stop that play, and he is instead going to do what we were talking about, make the swing around back to Pod. Or not Pod, Thieves Town, sorry. And, currently, Bobtastic just checked out the Tower of Hera, got an item and then saved and quit right there.
Yeah, I didn't quite see what the item was. I don't think it was any worth, but he is fire locked out of there. He needs either the fire rod or the lamp to progress further, so he's just going to kind of peace out. And it looks like he's heading to Dark World right now.
And chat is confirming that he got the Ether Medallion, so another medallion is taken care of.
So it might be worth, actually, quite a nice medallion to have. Like I said, early medallions are great.
And he is now making the play to go to the Dark World. We have the map check again, Turtle Rock 6.
So that was our other Fat Fairy one. So it is Turtle Rock
there. Okay. Yep, and Skullwoods is the red pendant. So there we go. We have our full map check.
So anytime I see like Turtle Rock being Crystal 5 or 6, I know that the Fat Fairy is probably not a play for any kind of progression or items, just because there's so many requirements to get through Turtle Rock. You need Titan Mitts, Hammer, Fire Rod, Ice Rod, Cane of Burna just to get through it, plus swords, etc., etc. So the likelihood of it having anything blocking, it's very unlikely at this point.
Yeah, and one of the medallions too. So yeah, there's just a lot of items that are necessary to make that complete dungeon. So probably good to kind of get the Fat Fairy off the mind and start worrying about other locations.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why Kenny's play just to check the pyramid earlier was a really smart play. I see quite a few racers like to route both in, but maybe he just realized, hey, I'm not going to be able to see this anytime soon. Might as well check it now. Exactly.
Now, unfortunately, that will kind of leave the catfish alone on an island for a very long time. So if that does have progression, that's going to be a very out-of-the-way place that won't have like any other checks alongside of it. But that's just the way it goes. Sometimes there's something there, sometimes there's not.
The Quakefish never has anything until you really need something from there anyways, it seems.
I guess, yeah.
Like, you go there early and he always has nothing, and then you go there late and he has exactly what you need. But we do see a lamp from Kenny now, so the dark rooms are in play now.
Okay. So yeah, that will probably send them to Death Mountain, and since he does have a fire item, he can complete Hera as well, so that'll take that out of the equation as well.
He can also complete Desert now.
Oh, yeah, that's correct.
And like you said, it is a pendant, but quick dungeon, worth the 2 items. And we get Bombo, so we are all done with our medallion lineup now. That's, well, for Kenny at least, I think that's his first. But yeah, we know where all 3 medallions are, so we know we're not really going to struggle looking for these, it looks like.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think I think Quake was in Sashrala's hut, and yeah, I don't think Kenny has gone over in that direction yet. So, yep, all the medallions, we know where they all are. That should not be a concern, because I can imagine Bob's definitely going to go through Thieves at some point, probably after this dungeon right here. So he'll be good to go with medallions, and I imagine Kenny will make his way to those other locations too at some point.
Absolutely. It might even mean an early T-Rock play. We'll have to wait and see how this goes.
Yeah, he'd still need that can of Samaria first, but yeah, he has like the other 3 items he'd need to potentially get in there, and there are a lot of items on Death Mountain too, so that could come into play for sure.
Yep, absolutely. Right now, they never had access to East Death Mountain, so 7 chests in the 7 chest cave, you have Spiral Cave, they have Mirror, so they have the Floating Island, they have Super Bunny, Hookshot Cave. God, that's like 15 items right there they can get.
Yeah, pretty much all of Death Mountain, with the exception of the tablet is available to them at this point, well, and T-Rock as well. And technically, they have the items necessary to get through Spike Cave, but probably won't be approaching that location until they have the cave or Burna.
Yeah, I don't like leaving that cave when I can't, just because, like I said, I would really like to do it at once, but with only 11 hearts, they do have a bottle, but they don't have any kind of health potion, such as the blue or red potion, so it's going to be really tough for them to get through that. Hopefully they can run into a safety such as Blue Cane or Cape to kind of get them through it.
Or even or even a bottle with some potion in it, so there's a lot of things that can happen. We do get the hookshot though, so that'll open up Hookshot Cave as well. So yeah, Death Mountain definitely looking like the next play after finishing Thieves Town.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of good items early on here for progression and routing. Really, they can route very cleanly now with what they have. Alright, so Kenny's going into his blind fight now. Let's see how he does.
He has a lot of hearts, so that is good. Blind, depending on how long you have the fight going on, can be very dangerous, but if you know what you're doing and you know Blind's pattern very well, you can generally finish this fight pretty quickly.
Yeah, he's doing a great job right now. He is taking some damage, but he's not out of it yet.
Ooh. Careful. Oh, and he gets sniped, and he will unfortunately have to go back to the beginning. Thankfully, it doesn't take too long to get back to blind, but it is frustrating when that happens. In fact, it looks like he's actually opting to leave and check out Death Mountain, because it seems like a much more viable place to find more items.
Not a bad play here. If you don't feel comfortable with completing the dungeon with what you have in the heart-wise, because you're not at full health going back in, you might as well come back better equipped. And like you said, he is going back up to Death Mountain now just to check up and see what's in there.
Yes, and thankfully, like with just the location of where the Thieves Town is, it's a very quick pop in, and you don't have to rescue the maiden again. Like Blind is already on the in the boss room, so it doesn't take too long to get back to it.
Alright, so we're going to see Link rescue the old man with light this time. So if you missed it on DoctorBobtastic's screen, you're in for a treat. Meanwhile, we see DoctorBobtastic getting his red rupee from the bombable hut in Village of Outcasts. So it looks like he's about to take his venture into... Actually, check in Sick Kid. I don't think we had Kenny check this yet.
Yeah, I don't think he did either. I think he kind of just checked the Dark World locations in Village of Outcasts and then just went south to the Hammer location, but unfortunately it was just 20 rupees, so...
Yeah, it looks like you just gave him his milk money.
His allowance for mowing the lawn last week.
Alright, so Bob is now going into Thieves. Very sharp play there, checking out the bottle just to see what he got from there, and he's going to like what he finds in here. He is awfully low on health, though, with only 3 hearts, so he's going to have to be careful of managing his health in this dungeon if he wants to progress without a death warp or anything to refill his health.
Yeah, thankfully in this little beginning area, one thing you could do is, once you get the 4 chests in here, you could take a death just so you can have more hearts progressing through the rest of the dungeon.
Absolutely, it would be a very sharp play at this point.
Okay, so Kenny is going to get his Ether Medallion, and now he is actually going to be checking the rest of Tower of Hera, since he has the lamp to actually light the torches in this bottom room.
Alright, looks like he's going to set up for the safety exploit with the pegs. Oh, he just missed it. Let's see if he tries it again. Alright, so yeah, he got it. The way this works is anytime you stand over pegs when they activate, it actually puts Link in a permanent state of invulnerability where he won't take any damage. So right now he has Mirror, he doesn't have to set up a Death Warp. So he's just gonna kind of tank the tiles here and wait patiently for the door to open.
You have to be a little careful sometimes, though, because if you get kind of in the corner between those two blocks, you can kind of get stuck, and then you'll have to force Mirror or force Save and Quit out of there to come back. So thankfully that did not happen.
Oh yeah, nothing's worse than getting stuck there and having to redo that tile room.
And with the big key in hand, he is now going to climb the rest of the tower and obtain the first crystal of not just for him, but also for this race in general. Meanwhile, Bobtastic still low on hearts, trying to be very careful navigating through the room right here. Those green rodents do actually do quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, they do 2 hearts of damage as well. They actually share the RNG movement of regular rats in the light world, so if viewers at home, if they're used to that frustration of dealing with rats and escape, then they're not going to like those things at all.
Definitely not. In the vanilla version of the game, it's not so bad, because, yeah, you have the Master Sword by that point, and, oh, okay, Bobtastic unfortunately takes the death. But yeah, you usually have the Master Sword at that point, so not really too bad to deal with them in the vanilla game. But here, with just the Fighter Sword, they take more than just 1 hit, so yeah, they can be a bit of a concern when going through here.
Yeah, not the worst place to take a death here, just because it is a quick climb back up, but he's already back low on 3 hearts, so he does have to be careful here. There are going to be some hearts waiting for him down below in the basement in the cell for him to kind of refurbish. And we get just the map from Trollorm there.
Yeah, I think he got both items. I think he got his second item very early, so he just opted to skip the big chest because he knew it was going to be one of the dungeon items. And then, yep, got the last one on Trollorm there. And now we're going to see the rest of Death Mountain being checked. Going to probably see the floating island first, and then after that he's going to be making his way down via Spiral Cave, and then checking all the Light World locations, and then checking all the Dark World Death Mountain locations. And Bobtastic unfortunately taking another death in Thieves Town. Again, these dungeons can be pretty rough with just the green mail and fighter sword, because not only do you have that low defense, but you also can't kill things as quickly as you would with the master sword, so that leaves them open for more enemies to attack.
Absolutely. It is, like you mentioned earlier, tougher than in the vanilla game because they would have Master Sword by this point here.
And with Master Sword, even though they're not the most, it's not the most deadly attacks, you can have the sword beams if you're at full health, which allows you to kind of keep a bit of a distance from your enemies. Unfortunately, though, that is not a thing with Fighter Sword.
Alright, so Kenny's entering now into the 7 chest cave. He's going to use a mirror block exploit, which basically, as long as you continuously hit Y as you're moving the block, you should be able to have the block clip and actually disappear. It's a glitch native to the version of Link to the Past that we used for the randomizer.
Yes, and make sure you use that only in outside worlds or in caves. Do not use that in dungeons because the mirror has another use in dungeons that will take you to the very beginning of the dungeon. It was definitely one of those things that when you first try that trick and then it happens, you're like, oh right, I'm in a dungeon.
Oh, it's the worst. And we get Powder and Master Sword and the flute from the 7 chest caves. So there's that flute I want to see. So that's going to be really nice for the progression now. That's moving them to a lot of areas. They pretty much have full access across the board, except for maybe Fire Rod areas and dungeons.
Yeah, Fire Rod dungeons, Turtle Rock can still not be entered yet just because of that Canis but yeah, like the entire overworld is pretty much in their hands at this point, or at least Kenny's hands anyway.
Right, I'm happy with, if I'm in Kenny's spot right now, I'm pretty happy with what I have at this time.
And unfortunately, I don't remember what exactly was in the big chest, but Bobtastic does not have the hammer, so unfortunately he is leaving that one chest behind. He does make it to blind, though. Let's see if he has better luck than what Kenny had. Oh, but he also takes a death, unfortunately. But again, he was very low hearts, so definitely understandable.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And he's also going to peace out and leave Thieves here later.
Meanwhile, Kenny does have the Master Sword now. So, there we go. That might be, could be an incentive to potentially go back to Thieves Town. I mean, Master Sword and Fighter Sword doesn't make any difference against Blind. It takes 3 hits for all 3 phases, no matter the sword, but just having that longer reach, having the health refill from Hera, that could be an incentive to go back.
Right, it could be. Did Kenny actually get a scout on which medallion was for Turtle Rock? Just because he's still missing Quake?
I did not see that, if he did, unfortunately. Actually, it looks like he did. It looks like it was the Quake medallion.
Ah, so that's the one that was in Sash Cave. Okay, so it looks like he might be going back for round 2 versus Blind now.
That would be a good call. Then right afterwards, he can activate his flute and then just quite literally go anywhere in the world that he wants. Honestly, I could honestly see him going towards the eastern area to pick up that Quake medallion at some point soon.
Why not? 3 chests, it's awfully free. He's probably going to route in like a Pod Eastern combo, but I have a feeling he's waiting for Bo before he goes near that area.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking that too. So, probably maybe a Meyer check then, just to see what the medallion is there. I mean, he doesn't have all 3 medallions like Bobtastic does, so at this point that is important intel of what to look for the rest of the seed.
Oh, and there's that sword beam usage you were talking about. Also, having the fire shield is going to make this fight significantly easier because now he can soak up some fireball damage that would do 1 hearts of damage. He wants to avoid body hits here because they will do 2 hearts over with green mail. And he gets a nice clean kill there.
Yeah, that was definitely a very clean kill, and that will give him his second crystal and the compass, not that it matters. And yeah, now it's up to him what to do next. Probably going to activate that flute, though.
Why not? It's going to open up some extra areas in the game, make your running that much quicker. I definitely make a priority for it as well.
Meanwhile, Bobtastic taking the purple chest tour at the moment while he checks some of these other Dark World locations. Probably going to run into that hammer that he's probably been looking for, and that's been on his mind for a while.
So I wonder if DoctorBobtastic, once he finds that hammer, does he go up to Dark World Death Mountain, or does he go towards Pod like I was mentioning earlier?
I'm wondering, just because he doesn't have the bow yet, I think the Death Mountain play would be a little more likely, and honestly that would probably be more rewarding since he would get that Master Sword from that. Yeah, I'd say Death Mountain, probably a little more likely, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a Pod play either.
And we see Kenny going warping to 6 here. He's going to check out Mireshed area and also maybe pop his head into Desert and see what's in there.
Yeah, definitely a very good play, especially at this point.
Ooh, we get the red cane in Mireshed.
All right. Sometimes that could be a sign that, okay, gave you the cane, you might have the medallion. Why not pop into Misery Mire?
So basically, we are the flips, rods, and a bow away from go mode now.
Yeah, and I believe that was the Bombos medallion on Mire, if I saw that correctly. Oh, and Bobtastic being rewarded with the purple chest with a sword upgrade. So if he does go to Death Mountain very soon, he is going to have the Tempered Sword, which is a really, really great sword to have. It'll make the rest of the game really, really easily.
Yeah, that is going to reward him quite handsomely. That might actually give him a little bit of an edge here. Equipment differences in races can be life or death, really. The difference between, like, say, Master Sword and Tempered.
Yeah, for sure. And with Purple Chest being such a out-of-the-way location, good possibility that Kenny might just skip that altogether. So that really could make a difference in the long run.
Right, and at this point, like, since he's done most of Village of Outcast and the Power Glove area, or Titan Mitts area, sorry, I don't really see him checking it anytime soon, so you're right, he might just skip that now.
Yeah, especially if he gets other items that'll just keep leaving him in different places. Yeah, that purple chest is going to get farther and farther away. Thankfully, it won't be required, but yeah, like you said, the difference between Master Sword and Tempered Sword Ganon fights, night and day, completely.
Right, and even boss fights too, because they are still quite early in the seed with a lot of dungeons left to complete.
Yeah, definitely.
Ooh, we get a blue tunic from Kenny, a nice safety to get here with a lot of the tougher dungeons coming up here.
Yeah, and they're getting to that halfway through Road 2 of Hearts as well, so defense is definitely looking a lot better than just having that green mail earlier. Bobtastic is often to check the catfish as well, checking some very out-of-the-way locations, but if he does get rewarded with this, then he's going to have a pretty big advantage, at least location-wise, for items. But just some rupees. A lot of rupees, but still.
Oh, a lot of rupees. So it looks like Kenny's going to round out his desert check by checking out Aquinas here. Interested to see if he dips into, elects to dip into Mire now.
Yeah, he will have to do Mire at some point. Doing or fighting Vitreous, just a sword, and I guess he has a few other items too. Can be a little stressful without that bow, but oh, yep, looks like he is saving and quitting out of there, so he might come back and save that for a little later.
Oh, looks like he's going back. Looks like he's gonna dip into Mire.
Oh, okay, never mind then. Yep, let's see this.
Nope. He's teasing us. He's gonna get a potion first. That's a very, very sharp play.
Yeah, definitely. Very good play.
I mean, Mire is a tough dungeon, especially with only Master Sword at his disposal. Very, very keen play to kind of worry about his health and magic at that point.
Yeah, Vitreous being another boss that can just really, really pile the damage on if you get unlucky and he corners you in a very inopportune place. And then just the rest of the dungeon, a lot of traps, a lot of dangerous enemies. So, yeah, getting a potion, having a safety alongside you is always a big bonus to have.
And we see Bobtastic just got his Temper Sword. He's going to be very happy with that.
Yes, definitely. And that'll make a lot of, once you get some of these other items, that'll make a bunch of other plays. He does take a death right here, but that will make plays like mine are a little more inviting and a little more, it'll be more easily to get through them.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate spot to die because now you're going to have to go back across, but it looks like he's going to check that and save that for later now.
Yeah, I think he's kind of on the way to activate his flute right now, which really good call, I think.
Yeah, Kenny making short work of the first room in Mire. Great work by him. He's going to go ahead and start checking out his items in here and see what he can get.
Yeah, Misery Mire only has 2 items, but lately, especially in version 26, which has you literally diving through every single dungeon, I've found it's had like a lot of good items in the past, so honestly, not a bad play to check this, especially if you have to do it anyway.
Absolutely. He has everything he needs to complete it. So, if I'm dipping in here, oh, there's the fire rod. I was about to say I'm thinking bow or flippers, but he gets rewarded with that fire rod now.
Yeah, fire rod, good item to have. That will open up the, well, if he wants to further check the Skullwoods area, he can. He has an alternative for Ice Palace. He can also use Bombos if he wants, but I find that getting through with fire rods, you have a little more control, and it, in general, takes less time, just because the Bombos animation does take a little longer than just using the fire rod.
It does, but more importantly, it does open up Turtle Rock now.
That's right, it does. And yeah, he has the kenni32 too. The only item he's missing for complete Turtle Rock completion is the Ice Rod. And if you've been watching Randomizer, as long as all of us have, you know the Ice Rod can quite literally be anywhere in the game, with the exception of Trinex, the one enemy/boss you need to have the Ice Rod to actually beat. So that's going to be an item that could potentially troll both of our runners for a very long time.
Oh yes, the pesky Ice Rod. In fact, the bow is actually starting to become a little bit synonymous with the Ice Rod in V26, as it's more apt to be placed later in the game.
Yeah, that's very true.
So did we see a bat check from Kenny earlier?
I don't think we did. No, I don't think we did.
Well, he got his cape from DoctorBobtastic. That's a great safety to have.
Yeah, it's good for bosses like Blind if you're having trouble, and then just also very good for bosses like Vitreous coming up. You have an alternative if you don't have the bow, so very good safety to have for sure.
Absolutely. You can do spins through him with the cape. You can dash through him. And it just makes the boss fight that much more elementary. I would love having that cape in there for that boss fight. So, yeah, he's definitely going to be happy finding that.
Yeah, we're definitely looking at a scenario here where DoctorBobtastic, even though he's had like a little trouble with execution, he is getting rewarded for some of his overworld checking, and I think that could, if he starts hitting those dungeons, he could get very rewarded for that in the long run.
Yep, still plenty of time left in this race to catch up. I mean, it looks like he might be a little bit behind, but not by much.
Yeah, it seems like the biggest things that he's actually missing right now that Kenny has is the Canis Amaria and the Fire Rod, which both of those are found in the Mire area, so once he goes over there, it will be evened up, essentially. He also has to go back and take care of Blind, also needs to finish up Tower of Hera as well, since he didn't have the lamp when he was up there before. But yeah, like, if he starts hitting those dungeons, he can make a lot of ground.
Alright, so Kenny's starting up his low percent Master Sword spins here and has that blue potion. He's actually doing a great job right now with the boss fight.
Yeah, definitely taking very minimal damage when walking up to the eyeballs, which is very good. So even if he has like a few left, he can just opt to kind of stand still and try to take care of them the natural way. But yeah, looking very good. He has the potion, like you said, and yeah, this fight should be over very, very soon.
Yeah, great work. So now this is going to be the tough task here, is the Vitreous main eyeball. It's something like 20 plus swings now with the Master Sword to defeat it.
Yeah, it does take a very long time to get this eyeball down, but at this point, this is literally the only option that he has, so just gonna have to stand still, get him in a pattern like this, and just keep swinging your sword, and he should go down eventually.
Yep, meanwhile, we see DoctorBobtastic heading over to Spectacle Rock right now. He's going to be heading into Hera, looks like, to take a second stab at that and get up there with the newly found lamp.
And afterwards, since he does have the cape, he could check out that spike cave, and if item exploration has done anything for him in this, that could be a very good find for him. Yeah, you can actually hammer Vitreous as well, but the hitbox for the hammer is very, very small, so it's just a bit safer to use the Master Sword, and I imagine that's kind of what Kenny was thinking of during that fight. Yeah,
it's a risk and reward situation. It is much quicker, but it's also much more dangerous, and with him burning that blue potion, he was probably thinking, I'm not gonna risk it.
Yeah, I can definitely understand the play there.
Definitely too, because a death at Vitreous is going to be another 2.5, 3 minutes on your time.
Yeah, Vitreous is definitely one of the more costly bosses to take a death to. That alongside Cold Stare, just a lot of ground you have to make up again just to getting back to that fight again.
Alright, so we see Kenny going to do the going for his vanilla big key here. It looks like the second item is still hidden within Mire. Doesn't want to leave any kind of chest remaining here, and just to see what that second item is.
Yeah, very good call. You're taking a huge risk when you're leaving an item behind, especially in a dungeon. With, as we discussed before, items are very, very prevalent in dungeons in version 26. So you do not want to leave anything behind, otherwise that could very easily cost you in a race like this.
Right, it's $50, and he's got 3 crystals now, including one tough dungeon that is Mire out of the way. I would feel quite comfortable where I am. I wouldn't really want to take too many gambles if I was in the shoes.
So it's actually kind of interesting right now. It kind of looks like the logic is pointing to potentially Turtle Rock, because all of the other dungeons at this point are going to be locked behind something. Ice Palace and Swamp Palace, he is going to be able to do Fake Flipper, but technically locked behind the flippers I imagine there's not a huge incentive to go back to Skull Woods, and pod is still essentially blocked by that bow. Well, early pod anyway. So, yeah, wondering if Turtle Rock is where the progression is going to be here.
He's actually checking Zora right now.
Okay, well that's a fair play. He has the rupees to do it, and he left us alone earlier, so I can understand that.
I mean, the ice play wouldn't be bad either. Like, if you're in an ice rod, that'd be so beneficial for you if you went up to T-Rock next and maybe caught Bo up there.
That is very true, yeah. That's one of the instances where sequence breaking can actually be a good thing. You'd think that it'd always be a good thing, like why do it all the time, but sometimes if you get like a certain item while you're sequence breaking, it may kind of throw you off the logic of where that seed was trying to tell you where to go, and you could be leaving behind a very vital item that you'll need later on.
Yeah, you can get really burned sequence breaking if you don't pay attention to where the logic wants you to go.
Meanwhile, Bobtastic finishing up the rest of his Death Mountain scavenging. Kenny making the play on pod. You can definitely explore some of the first rooms in pod, and you can definitely explore a lot of items in pod. Literally, though, you will need the bow to actually complete this dungeon, and again, like I mentioned earlier, there is a chance that a lot of the items could be bow locked, just be due to key placement and just other factors that can come into play here.
Right, not only that, but you can actually check Sash Cave here now as well, and as well as Easter.
Oh, that is correct, yes, he can get his Quake Medallion finally, and then be covered with that for the rest of the seed.
It looked like he was actually thinking about going back to do Sash, but he already had Kiki in tow, and really didn't want to fork out those extra 10 rupees he didn't want to.
Yeah, understandable. In fact, he's actually going to do the Sashrala check right now, leaving that portal at the entrance of the Eastern Palace. Honestly, that works too. And he's going to finally pick up that Quake Medallion.
Yeah, I mean, really any route works at this point. Like, he does have the portal there, he can get back in. You can actually mirror right on the maze and be right outside the entrance, but like I mentioned, any route really works here. So we see Bob now going through his Hookshot Cave scavenger hunt, getting his 50 rupees. I don't believe there is anything left in here.
Yeah, I don't think so. I believe Kenny went through this whole area and combed out everything, so... Yep, that's going to be it for that. Is he... Oh, what? Wasn't the island treasure just rupees?
I don't think he scouted it.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's not a bad play. If you didn't get the scout, you might as well do it now.
That is true. Yeah, it would, you know, save more time in the long run if it was something you had to get, so I can understand that. Oh, an arrow capacity.
10 arrows. He doesn't want any of that and is just going to go back to Dark World now.
Yeah, makes sense. Gonna take a look at the T-Rock requirements, which he does have, but unfortunately without that Cane of Samaria, he is going to be unable to actually do anything there, so guess he could be checking Spike Cave now.
That's where he's going. This could be a really intriguing play because he has that cape.
Yep, that's true. The cape that Kenny does not have and doesn't exactly have an incentive to go back for right now.
Right, and Kenny could use bottles, but with that cape, it's pretty much easy breezy from here.
Just gonna want to make sure that he actually activates the cape here. There is that 1 second delay with it, but he gets it off just fine, and we get a bottle.
Another bottle.
Okay, well, there you go. You get rewarded for making it all the way there with a berry and a bottle. I think that's very appropriate.
That's a good safety to have. I find it quite ironic, honestly. Meanwhile, Kenny doing his run through Eastern, he's not going to be able to find the bow here to get him to progress on. So he'll end up opening up that big chest and mirror back out and probably pop into pod and see what's in there.
Yeah, he could get lucky. It could be a situation where the dungeon is bow locked with progression, and it could give him another progression item just to kind of advance things along a little more. Or, if it doesn't, just further points the direction at Turtle Rock, which it's looking like more and more as more time passes. That could be the play here.
Indeed, it does. All right, so moment of truth now for Kenny's side. So we're going to see if pod is indeed bow locked.
It's a small key, it's not. If it's a small key, okay, we will be seeing more of pod now.
Right on. So within the logic, actually, the first 3 chests could contain the bow. A little bit of a coding quirk with how V26 works. So the first 3 chests being that left chest there, the chest that he's approaching right now through the pathway, and the what we like to call the drop-down chest that's coming up as well. And he's actually electing to skip it and head right down towards the pathway, the rupee room, and the turtle chest.
Gonna pick up his blue mail. Kenny is getting a lot of keys here, so that could potentially point that there may be some items in the bow-locked section of the dungeon.
Alright, and he also gets his big key here in pod, so he's going to go to the left dark maze now.
Okay, moment of truth. What is going to be in that big chest? Just a piece of parts. Yeah, I think he's actually realizing that he can't do much more in here.
Kenny,
so he's
no! Oh no, he forgot a chest.
Oh, that's right. He did forget that one chest, didn't he? Oh.
That's actually the third chest that's within the logic that could have the bow. And it could have another key leading to progression in the main chest there.
That is very true. Ooh, that is not good.
Yeah, that could be punishing, but we'll see. We'll see. There's always Turtle Rock.
Yeah, and with getting the Kanasamari and Fire Rod in the Misery Mire area, it does seem like that's where the breadcrumbs want them to go, but it's still very risky to, once again, leave a chest behind like that.
Absolutely, but the good news is he's actually starting to run out of locations, so I would imagine he's going to go back to it if he starts running out of things to do.
That's true, and they did just get the cape here, and if he's kind of exploring all these village items, that could potentially lead him to that tempered sword if he decides to go the whole way. But I don't know, might be trying to avoid that potential T-Rock play as of right now.
I think he will, and meanwhile, DoctorBobtastic is in Mire, and he is about to get his fire rod. He's going to be very happy with that find. And also with Tempered Sword and Cape in tow, it's going to be a much faster dungeon, I feel, for him, especially in the Vitreous fight.
Yeah, for sure. With those sword spins, those eyeballs will go down a lot faster. It'll take much less shots for the main eyeball, too. So, yeah, it'll be a much faster fight for sure. Kenny checking to see what the bumper cave item is. He does see it's a bottle, and he's gonna opt to get away from it. I can understand that. He does have a few bottles already, so probably not very concerned with that.
Yeah, he's piecing out. He doesn't want anything of that. So, Slim, let me ask you, since looks like it is winding down to that Turtle Rock check, what do you think we're going to find in there? Slim, please don't hold me in suspense.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to press my push to talk button. I'm sorry. For me at this point, I'd say that Turtle Rock probably has either the bow or the flippers, because that seems to be blocking off the most items at this point. It could have the ice rod, but at this point, with all the other dungeons around and the fact it could be anywhere, I wouldn't be surprised to see a dip into Turtle Rock for either the bow or flippers or both, and then having the ice rod in one of the dungeons that will lead to.
Right, neither or would be very welcomed. Luckily enough, like I mentioned, is that they're getting pretty close to the amount of checks they can actually do, so they could find fetch quests that could lead to these items, but yeah, they definitely want to find either that bow or flippers to kind of lead them into more dungeons at this point.
Yeah, Flippers is definitely blocking off both Swamp Palace and Ice Palace. They can technically get to Ice Palace due to fake Flippers, but as far as the logic is concerned, that is still not an accessible location, so yeah, it's got to be one of those two, I imagine.
DoctorBobtastic is getting his 50 rupees from the big key chest there, and it looks like Kenny's just about to get his tempered sword.
If he has that, he's going to do a spin of victory as he flies off to, yep, he's going to Death Mountain. I think that was the sign he needed to start making this play.
Yeah, I think he still has Spike Cave left up here, so he might elect to do that first, but looks like he's definitely heading towards there.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, he is going to do that first. I thought that since he equipped the hook shot that he might go straight there as opposed to Spike Cave, but nope, okay, he's switching back to Hammer. Yeah, even the chat is echoing that.
Oh, get your cape on.
Yeah, even chat is echoing that there is.
He doesn't have enough magic?
Ooh! Ooh. Well, thankfully he won't have to make up too much ground, but yeah, that is definitely an annoyance, and he's gonna need to also go into one of the Death Mountain caves to get some magic too before he. Well, it looks like he's floating away.
Yeah, I think he's gonna buy some magic instead.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah, he's filthy rich at this point with 900 rupees. Ends are already done, so might as well.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of rupees. Might as well put it to good use. But yeah, there is. It's a lesser known thing, but there is actually a magic refill in one of the Death Mountain caves leading up to where Turtle Rock is. So some players will opt to get that magic jar if they are running low on magic from Spike Cave.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, if he ran out of magic on the save and quit, he can also just pop into Turtle Rock itself on his way in and get that full magic refill as well.
Well, the thing is, he'd have to open it first, and he would need magic for that too. So, yeah.
Yeah, Super Bunny Cave at that point would have it. So it looks like he's going to take his other stab in here. Meanwhile, DoctorBobtastic going through the dark rooms right now with his lamp in tow. Will very shortly be approaching Vitreous.
And then Kenny doing his second attempt at the Spike Cave. He has more health, and he has the magic pots this time, so this should not be an issue whatsoever.
Yes, just please get out that cape there, Kenny. Oh, that was close.
He had just enough hearts for that, but yeah, he cut that really close.
Yep, 14 hearts is the minimum heart count you need to do that without any kind of safety, but it is still very risky.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so it looks like he's not going to Turtle Rock here. It looks like he's gonna check out some more overworld stuff first.
He might be heading over to Skull to finish it.
That's true. Yeah, that looks like that might be the play. And yeah, it looks like there is still, if their trackers are reading correctly, they still have one chest left in this area. So could be banking that chest and that item is what they need to progress without making the Turtle Rock play.
Yeah, definitely in play at this point.
Thankfully, Bobtastic did have that fairy in reserves during the Vitreous fight.
Getting some nice time spins here. He does want to be careful, but he does end up finishing off with those spins. Great work. Yeah, Vitreous, even with Blue Mail, does hit very hard.
So now we'll see what exactly is going to be his next play now. I think this is going to be a very, very big play for him because if he does make that Turtle Rock gamble, he will be very rewarded for it, and it could be the first time that he's actually kind of ahead in this race. Again, it's kind of hard to say if like one racer is further ahead than the other just because of the nature of Randomizer and routing and all the other stuff that goes into it, but if he gets that next progression item before, that could definitely change the outcome of this race.
So he's actually elected to go into pod first. This is also an interesting play because we do know that one chest has been left unchecked.
That is true. That could very well be the progression item there, too. Kenny takes down Mothula, gets a red rupee. That is not the item he is looking for.
It's a very small reward for a very nice quick kill by Kenny.
Yeah, chat making a very good point right now. There is still the possibility that both Flippers and the Ice Rod could be on the pedestal right now.
Absolutely. What would make that a reality is if we do find that bow in Turtle Rock. It would also open up that the green pendant in Eastern as well for a check.
That's true, yep. And Kenny, once again, on Death Mountain, I think he's kind of realizing that he cannot avoid it any longer. He is going to make the climb, and he is going to check out that dungeon. This will give him 5 chests to potentially check inside here, assuming that Trinex doesn't have anything, and then an extra chest for the Mimic Cave as well. So at this point, it was probably his highest volume location that he had available to him.
Oh, I was going to say it looked like Bob was skipping that chest as well, but it looks like he's going to bomb through and go check the middle chest here.
Okay, that is very, very good.
Yeah, that's going to also allow him to check that drop-down chest later.
And the verdict is just some bombs.
And it's just a key as well.
Yep, so, I think, unless there's one other location that I am forgetting about, which by all means, do remind me if that's the case, I think that the answer is Turtle Rock at this point.
Yeah, we've pretty much seen everything outside of a sequence break to Ice Palace right now, so you are correct. I believe that is everything.
And it's as you mentioned earlier, one thing that could come into play, assuming that is what Bobtastic decides to do. If he does make the play to check Ice Palace fake flipperless, and he does run into the ice rod there, that will turn a potential Turtle Rock double dip into just a single run through that dungeon, which will save a lot of time. So that is definitely not on the table yet.
Right, and if he finds something like that there, he might avoid Turtle Rock even more, because at that point he might deduce that you're only going to find the flippers up in Turtle Rock.
That's true, yeah. Those are all things that you can deduce in this version of the randomizer for sure.
Like, he's going to eventually want them anyways, just because you need it for Swamp. But Kenny actually getting the Butter Sword in the side room there in Turtle Rock. Very nice find.
And to think, like 30 minutes ago, having a better sword was one of the main advantages that Bobtastic had in this particular run, and now the tables have kind of turned, but as we know that Bobtastic is going to get that sword whenever he goes up the Turtle Rock, so there's that at least.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to be his only check left as well once he's checking this big chest here, so he's going to be going up there momentarily.
Kenny taking a lot of damage in the Chain Chomp room. He does make it through, and there are some anti-fairies here if he does decide to use them for some health regen. Looks like he's skipping them for now, but he does have 4 he can use in this upcoming room, so that might be a good chance to heal.
Yeah, he just dashed into the face of danger and said, "I don't need your health, fairy." Taking another heart of damage there, but he's probably going to want to look to bust out his powder here just to get some more health, and that's exactly what he's going to do.
Yep, that is a good idea. Got very close to getting hit right there, but he did get the fairies, so he is full health once again.
So we also do know Laser Skip is well within the logic right now because they do have the cape. So you actually do need either the cape, Blue Cane, or Mirror Shield for progression to be at Laser Skip, or at least the logic needs to have that in place. It will not place anything of progression in there otherwise.
Yeah, but with that cape, and yeah, both runners do have the cape, that should be no problem. Unfortunately, though, being at half magic, or not half magic, a normal magic meter right now, that is going to make things a little difficult because the cape will burn away that magic very, very fast. But who knows, they might get lucky enough to find the item they need in the first chest or two.
Yep, there's a couple of ways you can do laser skip with either the boots or walking as well. It is quite challenging with timings, but there is the safety door just in case they do happen to die attempting it.
One thing that'd be really, really good to find right now is probably the half magic upgrade, as I was just talking about. So that would be a good thing to find, or just a full magic refill right there. That's also nice. And the flippers.
Here's our flippers.
Kenny is probably going to opt to finish up what he can of this dungeon, though, which is a good play, just because that bow that he's looking for might be there as well, and that would also potentially prevent a triple dip if he would have left at that point. So yeah, good decision to keep on checking the chests.
Yeah, very wise play at this point. You don't really want to leave 5 more chests on the table in T-Rock. Like, it might not be the ice rod, but if it was something like the bow and then you end up doing full clear swamp and ice still looking for it, you're going to have to come back up here.
Yeah, come back up there and then just risk the possibility of having to leave right before again, but at least you found the silvers.
Yeah, there's the silvers. Very nice item to have. So now with butter and silvers, once they get to Ganon, he should be no problem.
Yeah, Ganon is definitely, I think, the least of our runner's concerns at that point, so it'll really just be finding the rest of the items. They need to be in the treasured and valued go mode.
Yeah, as we see DoctorBobtastic also making quick work of Moth here. Do believe he will be heading up to T-Rock now.
Well, it's not the bow, but we did find the shovel up here. That bow could be there, I suppose, or maybe even the ice rod.
Ice rod from the shovel, that'd be pretty trolly. And then, like, try next having the bow.
Oh, yeah, that would be pretty bad. It would be like, okay, here's the shovel, go get it.
Kenny forgetting he doesn't have the mirror shield. He's actually trying to set up like a the mirror shield strat.
Well,
actually, there it is.
I think I was looking for you, yeah.
That's pretty funny, actually, the mirror shield at laser skip. But yeah, he got the shovel out of it and his flippers. I'd imagine he's going to probably cash in that shovel first and then maybe hit up either Swamp or Ice Palace.
Yeah, really up to him at this point. I'd say of the 2 dungeons, even though it can be a little annoying to stay around Ice Palace for too long, I feel like Ice Palace would probably be the better play to potentially full clear first, just on the off chance that you find both of those items in Ice Palace, and then you can just go mode Swamp Palace, one of the greatest go modes to ever do in one of these randomizers. But either or, I mean, both of these dungeons are great to go mode.
Right, they are both tremendously quick dungeons to go mode, so honestly it comes down to you feeling kind of greedy and you want that Ice Palace full clear for the go mode Swamp, or do you want to go mode Ice? So we do have Kenny going into Ice Palace now as DoctorBobtastic is heading into Turtle Rock. He's going to find his, going to be well rewarded with those silvers, flippers, and even the shovel that we do not know what contains right now.
And even the gold sword as well. There was a lot of value in here for sure.
Yeah, think of it this way. It has 5 items and 4 of them are potentially extremely useful. The 4th item being that shovel. Even the mirror shield is nice to have for T-Rock in some aspects. A little late in the laser skip, but it's still nice to have.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Okay, so we are 2 items remaining now from Go Mode with that bow and ice rod. Gonna be very interesting to see where they are.
And as we know about our good friend the ice rod, it can literally be anywhere. So, and at this point, heck, even the bow could be anywhere because the bow is kind of it's one of those items where you definitely need it to beat the game, but it really only blocks, at least in the main part of the main flow of the game, only 2 item locations. Just the items that are on the Armos Knights and potentially Helmasaur, assuming there's not another item in a pod alongside that with the other 2 arrow block chests. So, yeah, the Ice Rod quite literally could be anywhere, probably even a fetch quest item too.
Yeah, it could even be the one of the most exciting plays in Rando, that blind pull over the pedestal.
That's very true, yep. Okay, so we have some Ice Palace checks coming up here in just a minute. Skipping that one chest for now, but he'll come back up to grab that on the way back, so no worries. Okay, nothing major in Ice Palace yet. We're getting those dungeon items out of the way first, though.
Oh yeah, just getting all the keys right now. Alright, so just gonna pop back down and get that one chest you were alluding to.
And it's the book!
Oh, we got literacy.
We'll know for sure if that pedestal does have something. That honestly might not be a bad thing to check right after this dungeon, since you will potentially have to flute away anyway.
Yeah, that book might make our runners a little nervous that pedestal might be required. It's not a condition for an item to be a pedestal, but it is very vital knowledge at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Very vital knowledge. It's intel. Intel is very important during these randomized seeds. I've definitely learned that the hard way. Just, knowing if you could have known something much earlier than when you actually do get it is just, it can mean the difference between finishing a seed 30 minutes before and just finishing it much later on.
Exactly. Like, say we get into a position where we get Bow and Ice Palace here, and we're Ice Rod away, and it is at pedestal. Well, if you check it, then you can just Go Mode Swamp and Eastern Palace for that green pendant.
Exactly. I feel like one of the qualifiers for the main tournament was definitely a seed like that, where if you checked the pedestal early, you kind of knew where that item was, and then once you were in Go Mode except for that item, you could quite literally just Go Mode everything at that point. The remaining pendants you had, and also the remaining crystals that you had too.
Oh, that was like one of my favorite seeds of all time. That was like a 132 pedestal seed.
Yeah, qualifier 3. Such a good qualifier.
Fun times. But alas, reminiscing aside, we're going to see what that big chest is. It's another fetch quest.
Item.
Here we go. Wondering where those were.
Yeah, petition to change the name of Ice Palace to the Palace of Fetch Quest items. Just for this seed, at least.
Yep, getting that bow and that mushroom. They have some moving around to do, but luckily with that flute in tow and boots, they're going to make short work of those checks. I'm pretty sure they're going to be happy about doing those before Swamp Palace.
Yeah, definitely. Swamp is, there's a lot of items in Swamp, 6 items to be specific, and it's still like a location that you want to do in Go Mode just because it's so fast, it looks so clean, and it's just a really nice dungeon to go mode. So holding that off for as long as possible is always a good thing. But again, with 6 items on the table, that also means that the stuff could potentially be there too. So we'll have to just see what Kenny decides to do at this point.
Right, and I'm also interested to see what DoctorBobtastic does at this point, because he's about to finish his laser skip in. Peace out. He's going to have that shovel. I wonder if he checks that first and maybe even goes to Swamp first, because we didn't end up finding the ice rod or the bow. They could be from the mushroom in the book, but we don't know that yet.
Yeah, that's true. It could be there. It could be in Swamp, like we said before. Ice rod, obviously, still in play for the pedestal. So yeah, we'll have to. Yeah, Bobtastic could make a lot of ground here, even if he decides to maybe check Swamp first as opposed to Ice Palace, and then he gets rewarded with the items. That could be another shifting point in this race.
Yep, you can have both items in there, and he doesn't even have to worry about the fetch quests that Kenny's worrying about right now. Because if I'm Kenny and you get that book and that mushroom, yeah, you're gonna check those fetch quests first.
Yeah, for sure. Bob's going to opt to take this safety door down here. Well, he has to check these items first too, obviously. But yeah, getting that safety door might be a good thing to do at this point, especially this low and still wanting to check some of these items to see what they are. But unfortunately, takes a death right there.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. He did use the safety door, did he not?
Oh, yeah, I guess he did.
He
Yeah,
did. Yes, excellent.
Okay. I think I know what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to look for some magic so he could use to get the rest of the chest, maybe.
I know where he's going to go. He's going to go to the entrance before Trinex for some magic here.
Yep, that full magic pot right here, very conveniently right before the Kenni32 platform.
That's going to give him magic, and that's going to fill up his magic meter so he can use the powder on the anti-fairies for health as well.
On the subject of canes, we do have the Cane's blue cousin, the Cane of Berna, located at the Bombos tablet.
Yep, the bad cane.
Okay, and it looks like Kenny, he's right next to Swamp Palace here. I guess, yeah, he is going to opt to check this out completely. We were talking about how luxurious it is to go through this place in go mode, but at this point he's probably just thinking, there's 6 items here, there's got to be something here, otherwise it's going to be a pedestal, I think, is what's kind of running through his mind right now.
Right, and he does have Ether unchecked right now, but you're right, he is right by Swamp. Why not? Meanwhile, DoctorBobtastic still making his way through Laser Skip. Having a little bit of difficulty, but he does have the magic in the cape now.
Yeah, in just a minute he will have that mirror shield, so he's probably going to be thinking, well, thank God I just ran out of magic right there.
I don't think he's going to be happy when he sees it.
Oh, okay, he already checked the other chest anyway, so yeah, that's probably frustrating then, yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, there's a subtle pause there for sure. Yeah, Kenny did check the shovel. There was only 20 bucks there. Red ruby. And that's actually the first place DoctorBobtastic is checking is that shovel.
It'll also be interesting to know when he's gonna, I mean, again, he's in a position where he can do it whenever he wants, but blind is still need to be taken care of for Bobtastic as well.
You are right, so that will add some extra time. Looks like he's kind of deciding what to do here. He actually might be going to finish blind now.
Yep, I can probably see that happening. probably looked at his crystals when he was looking at his map earlier, and he was like, you know, I still need to go back and do that. I better do that before I forget it even further. So, yeah, probably a good call to do that.
Yeah, not a bad play. I mean, he has to do it.
Or going over here, maybe he didn't check the mirror spot over here.
That's possible. I think you're right. Maybe he did skip this here.
I actually don't even remember if Kenny did this, so if this is something, that'd be kind of entertaining.
I think Kenny did, and I think it was only like rupees or bombs or something.
Ah, the usual. Got it. Yep, just a piece of heart.
Ah, that's what it was.
Okay, Kenny opting to skip the left side of Swamp House, at least for now. He can very easily come back in and grab what's left in those other chests as soon as he finishes up with Argus, but he does find the bow. Okay, that will put Palace of Darkness back in place, so Ice Rod could be there.
Yeah, so that pretty much brings you full spectrum looking for that pesky Ice Rod. That puts everything on the table. Green Pendant, Pedestal. I think Armos might have an item, and the rest of Pod.
That's true. I find it very humorous that in the very next chest he actually got 10 arrows as well, so just rewarding him on finally finding that bow.
Yeah, just the bow starter kit. So DoctorBobtastic actually going right to Swamp 2. This is going to be very beneficial for him to catch up.
Yeah, very good play choosing that. And again, it really came down to a coin toss at that point, just which dungeon you kind of feel like has the progression you need. And I'm guessing he's thinking that because he did get those flippers, even though technically required by logic for both dungeons, probably screamed more Swamp Palace than Ice Palace.
Yep, 6 items versus 3, why not?
Yeah, for sure.
Just to point out too, we still have that Ether Tablet unchecked by Kenny, so that could potentially be the Ice Rod as well.
And yep, as I figured, Kenny going back in, he does not want to leave that left side unchecked. I do not blame him whatsoever.
Yeah, it's always a dangerous play to leave that chest unchecked. Typically, when you skip it, you're not coming back to it until you're done everything else.
And if they've been watching some of the other races on the Speed Gaming channels and Randomizer Mania channels, there have been races where the Ice Rod was over here, and skipping this did hurt them, so that could be fresh in their minds as well, that, oh, the Ice Rod can be here. Maybe I should check this.
I do believe you are referencing that four-way race we had earlier this afternoon.
Okay, very good that he did not drown the key. That is a very unfortunate thing that can happen if you push the switch way too early. It'll require you to leave the dungeon, make a screen transition, and come back to actually fish the key out of there. So, thankfully, did not make that mistake.
Yeah, it's a very costly mistake for time, because if you ever flood the key, it's not so much of just mirroring out. You actually have to mirror out screen transition. I can't remember if it was a warp or not, but it is quite time consuming. It's something like just 45 seconds back in overworld, and then going all the way back to left side for another couple of minutes.
Yeah, I don't think you need a warp. It's just one screen transition, come right back, and then yeah, all the water's flooding again. But yeah, it's still a lot of time, and just not a lot of time you want to be wasting during a race like this.
Alright, so DoctorBobtastic managing his way through Swamp quite nicely. He's actually electing to check the left side first. Honestly, not a bad play because Kenny is ending up to check this now, getting his big key and his item, so he's probably overall going to save a little bit of time now by doing this.
Yeah, it's always interesting how this particular dungeon check usually goes, because depending on where that big key is, sometimes it's hard to know like which way is going to be the optimal way to check everything in this dungeon. Sometimes you'll find the big key in the later part of the dungeon, so you can just leave those left chests for later, and then just like come back in when you're done, grab the chest, and then get the ones on the left. Other times, like in this seed, it could be in its vanilla location, and then you have to go through the entire dungeon and then go through that entire left side loop all over again. So it can be just
very true.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Very true, and we do see the racers doing a little bit of a high five here. Kind of a good golden rule for Swamp is that if you don't have a dungeon item by the time you get to a left side choice, you can probably skip left side just because you don't know if you're going to end up like with map compass or big key or whichever.
Right, yeah, that's probably the optimal way to go through that.
Alright, so we see Kenny making his way back to pod here.
Wonder if while he's going through this, he actually notices that that one chest he left behind. He's going to actually opt to go back and get that. But since he has to go to the bow lock side of the dungeon, he probably won't be seeing that right away.
No, it looks like he's going straight for the Mimic Cave. Or the Mimic area, sorry. So this is interesting. If he doesn't get a key from that Mimic area, he's going to have to know to come back to the main room here.
Yeah, the only thing that we've gotten checked from the book is the Bombos tablet, so the Ether tablet and the pedestal are still unchecked at this point.
Oh, there we go. We do get a small key on the way. And there's the ice rod.
Oh, okay. There we go. Yep. Kenny is in go mode now.
Yeah, this has been quite the torturous seed, so it's probably a relief for Kenny to finally see that ice rod and finally be in go here.
Yeah, for sure. It required a Turtle Rock double dip, which is not uncommon in version 26, and those definitely kind of put you through a bit of a gauntlet, having to go all the way up there, check through the entire dungeon, and then having to climb back up again once you do have all the items you need to complete it. So definitely major props to our runners for going through with this seed.
So I think the defining play here now for DoctorBobtastic is when he gets his bow, does he go right to pod or does he go to Ice Palace first?
Well, as we know, pod is definitely the play here because he'll get the bow right here. He's gonna have that done. That's gonna send him over to pod where he'll finish up with the ice rod, and then he can do Ice Palace in go mode. He is definitely significantly behind at this point, just because Kenny does have the Ice Palace up on him right now, and there's also that blind fight that Bobtastic also has to take care of too. So at this point, I think that Bobtastic's, if he has some really good execution, and if some unfortunate happens to Kenny, that's pretty much the way he's going to have to make some ground here. But still, from the Turtle Rock anyway, he could potentially get into go mode a little faster from Turtle Rock anyway.
Right, I think the play, I agree, the play for him here definitely is go to pod. We know that obviously by the Ice Rod being there, but just to kind of keep him in the race. You know, it could come down to G-Tire route as well. It could cost Kenny a couple of extra minutes if, say, it's right side versus left or in tile room or something like that, and maybe DoctorBobtastic decides to go there. It could also come down to Cannon Falls execution, like you said, so there's still plenty of race left in here.
Yeah, thankfully I think the bow will definitely put Pod fresh in his mind, so if there is a location he has to choose between, whether it's Pod or Ice Palace, Pod would probably be that play, just on the off chance that he could go mode Ice Palace. So that's probably what he's gonna need to do after this.
Yeah, and Kenny's making his scale of Death Mountain up to Turtle Rock now.
Thankfully, all the puzzles and all the doors have been opened. I tried to make a giant leap over the bridge.
Yeah, he's a little excited right now. Kind of did the Dukes of Hazzard. Learned that gravity is not his best friend and safely hookshot it across.
Wonder if he was thinking it was the 3D Zelda games, whenever you jump off like a cliff like that, you have like a little bit of horizontal distance you're going.
Yeah, chat pointing out this isn't Link's Awakening. We do not have that rock feather. Alright, so for Kenny, this is going to be a quick trip through Turtle Rock. All he has to do is get to Trinex now.
Yeah, thankfully the reclimb through Turtle Rock will be a lot faster. He doesn't have to deal with these two rooms right here. All the doors are going to be unlocked. He'll even have a quicker route to the what used to be the big key door that he unlocked. So it'll be a much quicker trip than the first time for sure.
Right, and DoctorBobtastic actually checking Agina's cave. It looks like he forgot to check it earlier, so good memory by him just to kind of check out that loose square, just in case he would be in Goma with Ice Rod being there.
And it looks like he is making the Ice Palace play.
Well, that's going to be rather unfortunate for him, because not only do we know it's not an ice, it's going to give him 2 fetch quests that he's going to have to worry about now.
Yeah, and at this point, with how the seed's going, I would not be surprised if he decides to take a look at those first, because I don't think he has very many items left in pods, so he's probably thinking that Overworld has a higher percentage of the item I need, so I might want to take a look at that first.
Yeah, I think he's down to that one last item, and it is only the Ice Rod, right? So yeah, I would kind of agree. He's gonna want to check the Overworld stuff first.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't fault him for making this play. I mean, 3 items here. It is a crystal dungeon. You know, for us, hindsight, we know where the item is. So honestly, it's not a bad play to check out here.
And who knows? We might get that pedestal check too that we didn't get with Kenny. Given there's not exactly a lot that can be on the pedestal right now, but still, it's definitely something the chat gets very excited about.
I'm hoping for the red mail at this point. Being there.
Oh, that's true. That's probably like the biggest item that, or can have magic be on the pedestal?
Yes, it can.
I wonder what the flavor text is for that.
It's something about double your magic or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's double the magic, double the fun, if I remember.
That's appropriate. Yeah, you're gonna use your items for a little longer, so yeah, okay. I can get down with double the fun. Okay, very nice Trinex fight so far. He's gonna get him down really, really quickly.
Yeah, making quick work of Trinex there with that butter sword. Alright, so he's going to have crystal number 7 at 1 hour and 54. So get ready, viewers. We're getting ready for G-Tower.
And always, as always, when it comes to these randomizer races and Ganon's Tower, we have a little game that we play with the chat. Numbers 1 through 22, what item do you think is going to have the big key to get through Ganon's Tower? Rick with a bold 8.675309. If it's there, but if it's there, man, that's going to be a really lucky guess.
I'm going to say locations with decimal points is invalid. Banned. I'm going to say Firebar Room.
Yeah, I like naming the actual room locations myself, too. I'm going to guess the room behind the Ice Armos. Okay, didn't get it in the first 2 chests, and it looks like he is going to be going for the left side check. Because he did get a key, that is an opportunity for him to check right side early, but I think he feels more comfortable checking the left side first. And yeah, it seems like these days, whenever you do get a key, most runners will tend to go for the right side first. So could be trying to play the odds. The seed has been going on for a long time. May feel like this is the bigger gamble at this point.
Oh, and unfortunately, DoctorBobtastic takes a death in Ice Palace here. He did manage to get that sweet bomb jump against the big chest floor, but unfortunately ran into the spikes.
Ah, that's a shame. Okay, so we have 7 chest checks so far, heading towards, this is the room you guessed, right? The Firebar room?
Yes, it is.
Just a piece of heart, unfortunately.
As the Firebars wave Kenny goodbye.
He is going to be checking the further chests on the left side. Going to have the Fire Snake room, the Rando room, and then we'll get to Bob's chest and Armos Knights, and if it's not there, it is going to be on the right side.
Yeah, and I would say this is the traditional route through G-Tower. A lot of chests along the way, taking the left side.
Yeah, this was definitely the route of choice, especially during the first tournament back in spring. These days, like I said, I feel like a lot of more people are making that right side play if they do get that small key in that first chest. But still, like you said, a lot of chests here. Definitely can't blame anyone for making this play.
Yeah, it seems like the Dark Magician route in particular has become very popular.
Okay, 13 chests. I've still not gotten that big key. We're getting close to that Ice Armos room.
Alright, so up next will be Bob chest. And for those of you who are unfamiliar to why we name it Bob's Chest, well, Bob is a friendly little mascot of Rando, a glitch sprite. I won't really spoil it. I'll let you guys take it in.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, Bob, what's going on? Yeah, so if you leave the item on the torch, you see Bob in Bob's chest, which is a very glitched out sprite, and I guess the Rando devs have elected to kind of leave in.
It always reminds me of the mini Krakow guys from the Kirby games, so...
Yeah, it kind of does look like them a little bit. So, with silver arrows here in the bow, they're going to make, Kenny's going to make very quick work of the Ice Armos here.
They get away from him just for a brief moment due to that slippery floor, and inside here we have Heart Container and the big key. Alright. got it, so he is going to be advancing towards the end here now. 2 keys in hand. He is covered for the rest of Ganon's tower.
So I do believe that was chest number 16. Very close to vanilla position as well. We also see DoctorBobtastic. Looks like he ran out of bombs, but he very, very wisely actually went to the crab to farm his bombs back.
Yep, even this late in the game, the bush crab is very helpful. So, always wise to never forget it. Yeah, Solinana is also pointing out that the heart container that he got in the big key room was actually the Sanctuary heart, which is the only heart container in the game that will actually refill your health. It's called the Sank heart because that is the heart you get in the Sanctuary at the very beginning of the vanilla game. So that one in particular always refills your health all the way, even if you're down to just 1 heart, full health refill.
Yeah, that was quite a nice place to have it, actually, just to refill his health after that Ice Armos fight.
Yeah, I'm putting him in prime form for the gauntlet as he's going through right now.
Yep, moving pretty smooth through the gauntlet. Having a little bit of trouble with the Stalfos there, jumping around a little bit, but managing well through it.
Yeah, the gauntlet can be a very tricky section of the game. You have to go through all these rooms, killing all of the enemies that you can kill. In most cases, dodging the indestructible Beamos guys, and the enemies don't always have the same pattern as they go through these rooms. So, in some cases, in one run you could have a really good room 2, but in the next run, the enemies could get out of your control completely, so just a very tricky section to optimize.
Right, and he does go through it pretty smoothly, so he is on to Lamos 2 right now.
Butter Sword, they're only going to take 2 hits for each snake. He also has been trying to use the silver arrows. It can be a little difficult to aim with them because it does create a little bit of lag whenever you use the silvers, but they will take out the Armos in 1 hit if you can land that hit.
Alright, and finishes off that Lamos 2 fight. Well done.
So now all he has at this point are just a few Wizra rooms, a few rooms with torches you have to light, the Moldorm 2 room, and just a few other quick rooms to get through, and he'll be at the end and very close to finishing the run.
Meanwhile, Bob is continuing his way through Ice Palace. He is low on health again, but he does have some safety potions. And we have Kenny making through the firebar room, torch room, that is, just before the lasers.
Got the second torch room right here. He's through that, and yeah. Just 3 rooms to go, and then he's at Moldorm 2, and he has the keys to get through these next rooms with no issue whatsoever. Won't have to get that key on the Helmosaur guys, so he can move straight through this.
Yep, almost smooth sailing here. Just has to worry about a quick Trolldorm 2 fight with that Butter Sword, and then it's off tagging him too. Nicely done too. Nice clean fight.
Skipping the validation chest, I can understand why. He has the Butter Sword, he has the silver arrows. The only potential thing he could get is the red mail to protect against those Ganon hugs, but even then, he has a lot of hearts. 18 hearts, only 2 hearts were not found in this run of the game, so he should be just fine for the Ganon fight.
Right, and he doesn't know where his opponent is either, so very wise decision to kind of skip that chest. Like you mentioned, he has everything he needs.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely past the 2-hour mark now, and I find that a lot of version 26 seeds, it's definitely not surprising to have times that are past the 2-hour mark, so it's definitely getting to that point where he's wondering like when that opponent done is going to be. Thankfully, I think he'll be just fine at this point, but still, his mind right now is just a complete uncertainty, I think.
And this is the part where your heart starts getting pumping when you don't see that dot done yet. So it's definitely going through his mind, I'm sure. But nice Active 2 fight. He will be heading over to Ganon now. And like we mentioned before, Butter Sword Silvers, this is going to be quite the quick Ganon fight coming up here.
Yeah, 6 hits for the first 2 phases, the 4 hits on the 3rd phase, and then the 4 silvers on the last phase. Honestly, can't get any faster than that when it comes to this fight.
And yeah, it looks like Kenny's going to be using the cape here as well. Might as well, you have it.
He does have potions, I'm pretty sure, so he'll be fine for the torch lighting part of the fight as well.
Yeah, if he doesn't, Lamp's okay, but he does want to hit that torch glitch with the amount of magic he has left. And there we see the blue potion, so yes, he would be okay for magic. Alright, so Kenny just answering Ganon's question of, did you find my silvers in Turtle Rock?
As a matter of fact, we did. We even found those flippers you were hiding in the back of Mimic Cave from Turtle Rock, so...
Oh, and narrowly misses the triple, but he is going to finish off Ganon here. GG's to Kenny.
Yeah, GG's all around, and kenni32 is going to finish in first place with an SRL time of 2 hours, 7 minutes exactly, no seconds, just a straight 2 hours, 7 minutes. So congratulations, everyone in chat, give out your GGs. This was a very, very fun race and fun seed to watch.
Yeah, it's a very challenging race where it took our racers too. Like, it went from an early mire to a required double dip of Turtle Rock. Really challenged their reading ability of the logic for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said earlier, double dipping seems to be a big theme of version 26. And while our runners should be used to that happening in these seeds, it still makes the seed feel like a gauntlet from the very beginning to the very end. So definitely major props to both of our runners for sticking this out.
Yeah, for sure. So as we see DoctorBobtastic finish off, it's going to be interesting to see if he goes for pod or if he does, in fact, check up on those fetch quests now.
As we know, pod is definitely the play, but as we alluded to earlier, he will technically have more overworld available at this point, so that could be a big factor in his routing as well.
Looks like Bob was just kind of deducing where he should go next. It looks like he's settling on the Bombos tablet.
Okay, gonna see if we can get kenni32 in here for a quick post-race interview. And joining us, we have our winner of the race, kenni32. Congratulations on your win.
Oh, thank you.
Overall, how did you feel about that seed?
I thought it was pretty awful. I mean, we're just diving into dungeons multiple times. Had to go to T-Rock to get the flippers, to go to Swamp to get the bow, to go to Pod to get the ice rod. Just all over the place.
Yeah, it did look quite painful.
I was just happy. I was afraid it was going to be a pedestal seed for a while there.
We were actually wondering that too, because the book did pop in Ice Palace there. We knew that that could have been a play, especially after you found the bow in Swamp.
Yeah, I was. I dove back in there. I don't know. I was hoping it wasn't a pedestal seed, and if it was just going to be a blind pull. I was checking everything before I went back there.
Actually just missed what the pedestal was. Did you catch what it was, Slim?
No, I did not, actually.
Chat's saying it's the unknown hat. I might have gotten my wish. It might have been the red mail.
Yeah, I think that is what that is, yeah. Yep, red mail, wow.
Figured it was either that or half magic.
There's that commentator curse.
Yeah, there was literally, like, not much left. You pretty much filled up your entire inventory right there with that seed.
Indeed. How's Bob doing? Is he close?
Oh, he's close. It looks like he's picked up his ice rod now and just finishing a pod.
Nice.
Yeah, a tough go for him. It looked like he was pretty close for a bit there. He actually made the play to Swamp when you were in Swamp, but he elected to go to Ice right after.
Yeah, I thought about fake flippering to Ice for a while, but I was afraid that the bow would come first and the logic wouldn't have anything in Ice Palace.
Yeah, it's always a smart play to kind of steer away from those late sequence breaks, especially when it comes to Ice Palace, because who knows, you could have been able to possibly go mode it. But getting the flips in Turtle Rock, it's always a tough call to decide which dungeon to do first at that point.
Yeah. Did he get the boots early? Did he do that dark room?
Funny you should say that.
Yeah, you both got it at the same exact time. It seemed like you were in that dark room at the same time from different entrances too. So, yeah, you both got that.
Yeah, I lucked out taking that bad death, and then I was like, well, I haven't got the map yet, so I'll go check the dark room and hope I don't have to go back.
Yeah, thankfully you did check that because, yeah, that last chest in the Zelda cell was the map. So, yeah, good call right there.
Yeah, it was definitely an exciting play there. My favorite sequence break, at least, is getting that early boot. So how did you feel overall about that scene? I know you said it was pretty rough, but just to kind of run down it, it was Fire Rod to Mire, Flippers to in Turtle Rock, leading to Bow and Swamp, and Ice Rod and Pod. Pretty rough. Yeah,
it definitely was. I don't know. I was glad I found the hammer before I went into to Thieves Town. I try to check as much Dark World as I can when I get in there early before I'm always afraid that big chest is going to have something I need, and I hate going back in.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I was just going to say that was a good call because, yeah, sure enough, you found that hammer not too long afterwards in the Dark World Hype Cave.
Yeah, then I took the Death to Blind. I died all over the place tonight. I don't know what was going on, but I knew I needed the flute, so I just waited till I got that before I hopped back into Thieves Town.
Yeah, honestly, as far as like both of you are concerned, both of you definitely had deaths all over the place. I believe even your opponent also died to blind and opted to come back later. In fact, he still hasn't. But yeah, yeah, your opponent still hasn't actually done blind yet. So you'll have to make that quick play back there.
Oh no.
So as far as obviously that was your last race for this particular group, but is there anything you're going to take from this particular tourney experience, moving on to potential future tourneys, or just your randomizer running in general? Because obviously there's races going on all the time in the randomizer community. So anything you learned from this tournament that you're going to be taking for future use?
Seems like we've lost Kenny here. Either that or he's leaving us in suspense of the answer.
Yeah, I guess so.
So meanwhile, we do see DoctorBobtastic making his climb up to Turtle Rock now.
Very interesting play. Again, considering that he does still have. Did he take care of blind? Because according to his tracker, he hasn't, and I don't see the main tracker on the tournament.
Yes, he did complete blind.
Okay. Yeah, I guess at this point, since he is pretty much in go mode now, he's probably not focusing on tracking at the moment. So, yeah, he's gonna be making his way through Turtle Rock, gonna finish up beat Trinex, and he'll be doing his run through Ganon's Tower, and that will pretty much be his run as well.
I'm sorry, I was just talking to Kenny there. What was that?
Oh, I was just saying that, just basically breaking down what he has left to do, just saying that, yeah, he's going to make the play through the rest of Turtle Rock, he's going to go to Gan's Tower and finish up his run. I didn't really say anything beyond that.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah, this was definitely a seed that there were definitely some locations in the overworld, but it seemed like a pretty typical version 26 seed where there are a lot of items scattered amongst the multiple dungeons, in some cases just one item per dungeon at this point, because obviously we had the flippers here in this area, we had the bow and swamp, we had the ice trot and Palace of Darkness. So yeah, like I feel like both runners in general, routed this pretty well. They routed it as best as they could. Just again, having those trolley instances of double dipping Turtle Rock. That's just something we've come to expect Turtle Rock to do.
Right, it was a very challenging seed, just where all the item placement was and the double dips and everything it required for them. But that just seems to be the calling card of V26 as it is. Really spreading out the items, doing a very good job of doing that, but at the kind of cost of your sanity a little bit, it seems like, from time to time.
Yeah, and it was also a scene where it seemed like if you wanted some fast early progression, you did have to check a little bit of overworld, even though it wasn't necessarily required. We saw that definitely with the sword upgrades being in, well, the middle two sword upgrades anyway, being kind of in different places across the overworld. So that was kind of interesting how they routed those in, and you did kind of see a bit of a catch-up from Bobtastic after he got that tempered way before Kenny did, so that definitely made it interesting. But I think at the end of the day, just the execution and some of those, excuse me, very unfortunate deaths is really what kind of told the story of this particular race.
Yeah, I agree, and such is the life in Rando.
Yeah, exactly. One day you have one issue, and the next day you have a completely different one. So, yeah, that's pretty much the story of it. Okay, so we are getting ready to see the Trinex fight from DoctorBobtastic coming up.
Indeed, we do a particularly safe fight, Blue Mail and Butter Sword here.
Got away from him just a little bit right there, but oh, and taking a tackle from the main head of Trinex.
Ooh, took another one. He's got to be careful here. He's got this.
Yeah, I think he does too. Just need to do 3 quick sword slashes. 1, 2, 3. And Trinex is down. He will now be making his way into Ganon's Tower to finish up this run. I do wonder, though, where was that half magic upgrade?
I mean, our runners have checked most of the game world, so my guess at that point would have to be either green pendant or somewhere right side on G Tower. Maybe even the big key chest on in G Tower.
Yeah, that's looking very, very likely at this point, and who knows, we may actually see that from him too, especially since it seems like the kind of the Dark Magician or even just the right side first plays you spoke of earlier. Possibility that he thinks that because Kenny finished before he did, that he may have gambled on that. So we might actually see what's over there on that right side here.
Right, I should mention too, it didn't look like Kenny picked up any of the chests on his way up G Tower, probably because he was wondering where was Bob this whole time, because he's not seeing a dot down approaching that 2-hour mark. He's probably sweating it out and just trying to get to Ganon as fast as he could.
Yeah, could have even been in that validation chest too, so yeah. Definitely have our pick of where that magic upgrade was. And he is going right side, so we will see those 4 chests on the right side.
Actually, timing-wise, if he commits to the full right side, that's going to work out for him.
Oh yeah, that's right, that would work out for him. Ooh, and he gets grabbed by the Wallmaster right there, unfortunately.
Yeah, just unfortunate timing there with when the Wallmaster came out.
Yeah, and after getting some hit by some of those other enemies, yeah, that was looking kind of close too. And I guess he is abandoning the right side to go to the left side, probably figured, you know, I don't really want to deal with this if I don't have to, so he's probably just opting to go over here now.
Yeah, overall, it's not going to punish him. He's going to eventually run into the big key anyways, past the Ice Armos.
Yeah, for sure.
Alright, so he's going to make his way across left side here, going to the firebar room, eventually to the rando room as well.
Yep, as a refresher for the chat, the big key is in the room beyond the Ice Armos, so he still has a couple of rooms to get through, but yeah, he will be in the same room with that big key at some points. Oh yeah, forgetting that he needs to hit the switch while he's on the other side so he can continue in the next part.
Yeah, everyone does that from time to time.
I think you can technically use Boomerang, though, to still hit that switch, though, can't you?
Yes, you could. You can use either red or blue boomerang, actually, to do that. And same with the room below is if you use hook shot for the blue boomerang, you can get across. And with the red one, you can just dash and make it.
Ah. Okay, here we are back to the rando room.
Alright, chests 10 through 13.
I think the map was in here, not that that's gonna matter too much, but it is there.
Also picking up the extra arrows for Ganon and Ice Armos.
Yeah, that'll also be very nice to have. And even just the gauntlet in general, just having some extra arrows for the enemies there, also for Lomnos if he wants to try to use that on the that boss as well.
Absolutely, you always want to go into that gauntlet with as much magic and ammunition as you can carry.
Then as long as you have more than 4 arrows by the very end of it, you should still be okay as long as you don't go too crazy with your arrows on the Ganon fight. Okay, gonna say hi to our good friend Bob again before we, yeah, we just kind of get rid of him from existence right there.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob. Bye, Bob. Well, I guess Bob did kind of form in the other anti-fairy over there too, so I guess he's okay for now. Very clean Armos fight. Very clean.
Very nice fight.
Okay, there we go. Big key, and we are good to go now. He does have one less key than his opponent had, but that is okay because in the mini turtle room on the way up, one of the turtles thankfully has a key, so he will not be in a position where he has to warp down to get another one.
Right, the golden rule for Ganon's Towers, before you head up there with the big key, you always want to make sure you have at least one small key.
Yeah, there is a chance you can find a key up there, but you never want to take that risk and then go all the way up there just to find out that, oh, no, the key is downstairs after all.
Yes, and your reward for that would be another 4-minute hike up, gauntlet and everything. Oh, I don't think he wanted that.
No, I had four of those spike and things in the middle there. Yeah, I think he wanted to get rid of some of those, but
Yeah, there's a little bit of hesitation there, and he was like, "Nope, not gonna go through that." All right, as Bob makes his way to Gauntlet now.
and getting a 10 arrow drop on the way up, that's definitely a good thing to get right here.
Yeah, and unfortunately with his magic situation right now, he's going to have to rely on the bow for Gauntlet. Like I mentioned earlier, having half magic is so nice for here with the Fire Rod, because you can just kind of spam it at will and defeat your enemies, whereas with the bow now, a little bit trickier shots coming up.
Yeah, in addition to having that little bit of lag that silvers cause, yeah, it does make aiming a little difficult, but he makes it through the gauntlet just fine. And I can imagine he's probably going to keep on using it for the next parts. Or, yep, he is. Okay, yeah. A little risky to use Fire Rod right there, especially with some rooms coming up.
Yeah, so with him using the powder there, it actually is going to mess up the timing a little bit, but he already gets one Lamo Swarm down, which is pretty nice to do. Almost gets the third one there, just narrowly misses it. And it's down.
Even though his magic is not full, still going to opt to use the kenni32 strats for these rooms, which I don't blame him. The kenni32 trick works really, really nice. I love, that's one of the first things I really loved to learn when I first started running Randomizer. And it also doesn't cost that much magic anyway. He should be fine for the first torch room, and he might even have a potion too, so.
Yeah, luckily he does too have enough magic as well right now, so if he didn't want to use the potion right now, he could use Lamp. I think he can get through with Fire Rod with the two small bottle drops that are in here, but he probably will stick to Lamp here, excuse me.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. And there is a full magic refill in the next room too, so if he wants to grab that for the next torch room, he can. It's also not very often you see the mirror shield on our racers for that room. You can technically use that to block the eye laser shots.
Yes, you certainly could. So we see Bob getting that second small key that you're talking about. That's going to allow him full access up until the Moldorm 2 fight.
Gonna grab one fairy just so he's at full health for the next part. Don't blame him. He gets kind of stuck on the crystal switch right there, but that's okay. Just a blue rupee in that chest, and on our way to Moldorm 2. Ooh, immediately Trolldorm, just not wanting him to stay on that platform, knocks him off immediately.
Yep, lived up to his name. And he actually took some extra damage there by falling on the spikes. So in the Moldorm 2 fight, if you do get knocked onto those spikes, you will take extra damage. If you are lucky enough just to fall into the regular floor, you'll only take the damage from the hit.
Right.
See, in that instance, you didn't take that extra damage. It's being awfully difficult with him.
Yeah, Moldorm definitely woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. Definitely feeling really, really edgy right now, but thankfully Bobtastic does finish him off and picks up a bottle of blue potion in the validation chest. Honestly,
that's nice.
Yeah. At this point, when they have almost all the necessary Ganon killing items, that is probably the best thing they could get right there.
Can you imagine it came down to it where you pick up the blue bottle and your opponent doesn't, and they die because of it? Oh.
I would not be surprised to see if that actually happened during a race. Like, it's only I think it's only a matter of time before a scenario like that comes up. We've seen scenarios where even just getting like a better sword upgrade in Ganon's tower has made the difference, just in the Ganon fight. So literally anything can happen.
I've seen like Silver's validation, Silver's pre-validation be the difference. Yeah, it definitely could.
I guess one good thing that kind of came from taking a little damage during the previous rooms is that they won't be activating sword beams, which I find can kind of get in the way a little bit at times, especially during some of these fights. So that is one good thing out of Trolldorm being a little bit of a troll, I guess.
So Bob having a little bit of trouble here with Aga 2, but it looked like he was pretty close to rounding out the fight.
Ooh, I feel like that hit really should have got him right there, but oh well.
Yeah, I think he's one away now.
And he's down.
Nice. Yeah, he definitely didn't want to die there. If he did take a death at Aga 2, he would actually have to take the climb up G Tower again.
Yeah, take the climb up again, go through the gauntlet again, go through both Lomno and Moldorm again. It's just a very unattractive climb.
Yeah, that's like 5-6 minutes right there.
Okay, but he is entering the Ganon fight now. What we might see is he may opt to just like not use the blue. Yeah, well, I don't think he did that on purpose or anything, but this way he'll have more health going into it, and then he won't waste that blue potion, essentially, so...
I'd say Bob's just a step ahead of the curve there and just got the death out of the way and got his health.
Yeah, that could be a thing for sure.
In that case, excellent play, Bob. So we're entering the Ganon fight. He does have his cape. He has a couple of blue potions. Should be a pretty safe fight here.
Ooh, but he does take another death right there.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, sometimes positioning can be a big thing in this fight. Just kind of trying to get close for those sword swipes and then having those bats circling around his body. That can be a hard thing to avoid if you don't have the right setup. Looks like he kind of has something going right here, though.
Yeah, good positioning here.
Is opting to use the blue potion right there.
Honestly, a wise decision. Why risk it?
Yeah, he's in phase 3 right now, so honestly, I feel like phase 2 is probably the hardest phase to deal with, just in terms of avoiding taking damage anyway.
Definitely. Not just with Ganon's hugs, but also the fire bat damage alone can be pretty annoying.
Chat saying Ganon hugs are the best hugs. I can't really agree with that as a runner of this, but I suppose there are fans of hugs out there.
I mean, they're free, right?
Yeah, I guess.
DoctorBobtastic also going to respond in kind to Ganon's puzzle of, did you find the silvers in Turtle Rock? Yes, he did.
Oh! Yeah, sometimes that fire attack can be really unfortunate. Got hit by that and then also knocked him off his balance and knocking him off the fight. So he will have to do that again.
He is going to wisely get his fairy here from that tree. Refill his health here.
I actually don't think I've seen that particular Ganon text yet in the randomizer.
Is it the evidence one?
Yeah, the evidence inside the bot one. There's, yeah, that one.
Yeah, it's in there. I think it's about 7 or 8 different ones that can spawn.
Yeah, the randomizer team doing a great job, not just with the randomizer in general, but just having little Easter eggs and fun little flavor text like that throughout the entire randomizer on Ganon through certain NPCs. A lot of really great work has gone into this, and unfortunately taking a fall death right here, probably better than just a fall, because at least this way you'll have more health going back in, but still annoying regardless.
So interesting enough, if he did have a fairy there, he actually could get into a glitch state, which would put him back on the main floor if he positioned himself accordingly. It's like one of the few rooms where it'll happen is in Ganon's tower here, or in the pyramid, sorry.
Does have another blue potion. He does go ahead and use it. At this point, I can definitely feel what he's going through. He just kind of wants to finish up this fight and get it over with. Sometimes that can lead to a little bit of impatience, and sometimes you just take hits when you don't intend to. So I can definitely feel what he's going through right now. Does make it back to phase 3 though.
Nice work.
Oh, and the Ganon hug. Yeah, this is why we don't like Ganon hugs. They hurt, and they hurt hard.
Yeah, like I mentioned, they're free, but it's not like the good free.
Does have one more blue that he can use. There we go, back to phase 3 yet again.
Alright, Bob, you got this.
Being really annoying with the Ganon warps this time, though.
Very obnoxious, actually. That's a really big pet peeve of racers, is like tremendous amounts of Ganon warps.
Yeah, if you were out there around for the last tournament, didn't have to really worry about Ganon warps that much. They were actually removed from the logic entirely. They did add them back in because people kind of thought, well, it is a random factor of the game, so why take out a random factor in a randomizer? So as a compromise, they basically made it so the basic RNG for the Ganon warps and the blue balls on Aghanim are consistent across both racers. So if they have like 5 warps, the other racer will be also having to deal with 5 warps as well, at least if it's that same attempt anyway.
So Bob being quite patient with this fight, honestly, is a very good decision to do so. It's got to be careful here.
Yep, there we go. Ganon is down.
Nicely done. All right, so GG's the Bob.
Okay, DoctorBobtastic finishes in second place with an SRL time of 2 hours, 44 minutes, and 57 seconds. Thank you, chat, for giving your GGs. That was a very good performance. You could definitely tell that the length of that seed was starting to kind of get to him a little bit, but that's very understandable. When you have a seed like this, that kind of thing will just happen. It happens to all runners. It's definitely not uncommon.
Looks like Bob's going to want to come in for an interview as well.
Okay, we will need to keep this very brief, but we will definitely hear what he has to say about this seed.
Hello.
Hello, DoctorBobtastic. GG, congratulations on finishing the run.
Well, yep, that's about all there is to congratulate for, but I will do it. I will take it for sure. So let's talk about this seed and how it makes me want to cry.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that.
Only slightly. It's actually not that terribly bad, except for like the required Turtle Rock double dip thing.
Yeah, that was definitely a big factor in play. And aside from that, like it seemed like every single dungeon had at least like one progression item. You had like even though it wasn't in Turtle Rock, you had the flippers in the Mimic Cave, you had the bow and Swamp, you had the Ice Rod and Palace of Darkness, and heck, even the Fire Rod in Misery Mire. Just all of these like just dungeons that had one progression item. It had kind of a linear progression to it, but still, when you're trying to route out something like this, it can be very, very difficult.
It's an unknown linear progression. So, you know which dungeon didn't have any progression items? Skull Woods. So, RIP V26 meme.
Yeah, that's right. It did not have anything. That's yeah.
It had a bottle, but that was about it, and it didn't end up being important.
Yeah, that was quite surprising.
So, I have a question.
Okay.
Did my opponent find the boots?
Yes, he did. In fact, it's funny that you mentioned that because you two pretty much found the boots at the same exact time, coming from two different entrances of that one area.
Kenny asked the exact same question too.
Yeah, he did.
All right then.
Yeah.
So I would imagine just being in your guys' shoes, if I find the boots in that position early too, you're like, oh man, I'm way ahead. It was awesome that you both found them at the same time.
yeah, that's a thing for sure. So I don't feel like I made any unreasonable plays. That being said, I also made just straight up bad at the game plays. There was, can't do blind fight in the way it's supposed to, so it's just like, yeah, I've got all the items, I'll come back. And then, but I died twice in Thieves Town before that, just because I'm garbage. And let's see, what else? Where else did I die? Ice Palace, that was a bad death. I had just finished doing a trick that I was like, oh yeah, I figured out how to do this trick, and then I died. It's the second bomb jump.
Right, yeah. There was definitely a lot of that. Honestly, like you said, I do think you made some very good calls. In fact, I think one of the earlier advantages you had, even though your opponent was ahead, you did find the tempered sword before he did, and there was like quite a bit of time where you had that. So I honestly think you made some very good ground at that point. But yeah, like you said, definitely some execution mishaps. Things like that always just seem to kind of happen sometimes. It's one of those runs, I guess, where you just don't feel like you're playing correctly at all. And yeah, that's ultimately what I think gave your opponent their victory. But yeah, you had some really good routing decisions, and it seemed like you did make some very good plays, especially in the last few dungeons. I think you even took, like, at least in terms of how the logic was progressing at that point, I want to say you took the Turtle Rock gamble a bit earlier than your opponent did.
Interesting. Well, I was sitting here thinking, I was like, so I can go to Turtle Rock now and see if something's there, but I don't have the ice rod and I don't like it. Or I can go into Pod without the bow. And I was like, well, let's go do Pod. Because I don't like to do Pod without the bow. But then once I'm in there, I want to, do as much as I can. That way I can, figure out based on the logic what's going on precisely.
Right.
And then, of course, I imagine that my opponent went to Turtle Rock and then probably just immediately went back to Pod. Just because it had to be that fast.
Actually no, because remember the bow was in Swamp
Oh,
Palace.
well, yeah, okay, went to Swamp, then went to Pod instead of going to Ice.
But actually, no, your opponent did go to Ice first. He did elect to go to Ice first after that, and I think you were both at some point in Swamp at the same time. You were just entering as he was kind of finishing up. I feel like that was kind of the closest the race was at that point. But yeah, he actually went to Ice Palace first.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And the thing is, you saw me kind of fumbling around before I went over to Pod, and I was like, I just got this book.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of things I could do with it. I don't want to do any of them. They're awful. Let's go finish Pod. I thought to myself, oh, right, I have this dungeon over here that has a crystal in it, and I haven't finished it, and it's got an item in it. So let's go do that.
Yeah, that was ultimately the right call for sure. I think if you just check the book locations, Bombos was Cane of Berna, and as you probably already saw by this point, the pedestal actually had the red mail. So,
oh, well, there you go.
That's what you missed by not doing the book locations. But honestly, you didn't need those to progress, so it wasn't really a huge factor. But yeah, honestly,
though if I'd had the red mail, I might not have actually died on Ganon 17 times. There is that.
Ganon was just having one of those days where he just was feeling very aggressive. So,
what can I say? I have put a lot of thought and effort into routing this game. I have not put really any effort into practicing this game, like the actual stats, strats, because I'm bad, and I know I'm gonna be bad. So I'm just gonna use whatever advantage my routing gives me. But that's why I'm in the secondary tournament, and that's why I'm 0-4. So there you go.
Yeah, I guess so. And hey, I mean, even if you are 0-4, this is still definitely practice. So practice for not even just the next tournament, but even just the SRL races and the main Link to the Past Discord in general. So anything is good practice. Every run is a learning experience you can use to further improve. And there's a lot of chances to get better, especially at those execution things.
Yeah, so hopefully they'll still let me commentate after that abysmal performance, but we'll see.
I think you'll be fine. But we do kind of need to start wrapping up now. Unfortunately, our restreamer needs to take care of some things. But a good game once again, DoctorBobtastic. It was fun watching.
I will step away. You do the shout-outs, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, GG's.
Okay, you have any things you got to say, Soulscape, before we wrap this up?
Yeah, just thanks everyone for watching, and go give these runners a follow. Great race by them.
Yeah, for sure. Follow both of our runners. Also, big thank you to our tracker, Streamy Sauce, and our restreamer Zelnus. Thank you very much for doing this, and of course, thank you, Solsky, my co-commentator, for being part of this. It was a really fun race to watch and commentate with you.
Yeah, likewise.
Okay, so Randomizer Mania audience, we will see you later. Lots of races going on right now. You have your pick from all the Speed Gaming channels and the Randomizer Mania channels. A lot of rando going to be going on for the next several weeks, so you will definitely be entertained if you like watching Randomizer. So this has been Slim Kirby, and I will see you guys later.
Bye now.